Partnerships is not a new concept, but it's going through this revival resurgence period within kind of go-to-market, where everyone's familiar with sales as an acquisition motion. Same thing with marketing, outbound, inbound, etc. Partnerships is an extremely profitable acquisition and retention channel if executed properly. The problem is we're humans, and a lot of people who do this job, they're aligned compensation-wise to account executives and sales reps, but the big difference is that sales reps work directly with prospective customers and they work the deals to close. We sit on top of them. We're more of a sourcing function, where we're trying to generate opportunities for sales reps to then pass the baton to, and then they work the deal. Quota models, compensation models, contingent compensation that we only get paid if these deals close. So that does lead to some bad behaviors, because we're all human, where we be selfish. And I was like, look, everybody, I'm getting a lot of demand to coach. I can't do it one-on-one, but I'm going to open up a Partnership Mastermind bootcamp. It's going to be an 8-week accelerator style program where each week we meet for an hour on Zoom. I'm going to go through a specific topic, and I'm going to go through theory, real world examples. We'll have open dialogue between the group.
Nice.
And then fast forward through the 8 weeks, you're going to have more confidence, more skills, and a few more friends. And then I got 75 applications for the first batch. I started charging $200 USD per pop. That was great. And then $350, $500, $750, and then it's been at $1,000 USD per seat. I've personally delivered 16 8-week boot camps to around 300 plus partner pros, 25 countries. Combined, these people are, having $1 billion of total economic impact on their businesses and their industries.
So Chris, welcome to the studio, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Of course, you've been to StartWell before.
I have. Very happy first-time customer. My business, Partnership Mastermind, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Yeah.
Community-based business, 3 years. Today's actually our 3-year anniversary.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. And so on January 21st, we had our first ever in-person member summit. Everything been virtual for 3 years. And so that was a really important day for the business, day for the community. And so I was scanning Toronto to find the perfect venue space. I was fortunate to come in contact with you, and honestly, everything from initial conversations, day of, post event, getting a lot of the assets, it was just incredible. So this isn't an ad for StartWell, but it should be, because it was such an important day. It was like my wedding day for my business.
Amazing.
And I didn't just have a great experience. Everyone just thought it was the perfect place. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's crazy. It's been since 2017. We've been just refining. You
got it dialed.
Right? That's what it takes. It could take your whole life. I mean, this is the thing.
That's right.
Yeah. And it was so great, of course, to have our team see you guys liking the space and all of your guests enjoying it. And even seeing, I think a couple of your guests for that session had been here before.
Yeah. Some folks had been here before. It's a great location, super central. And it was just perfectly conducive to our event, and we'll maybe get into it, but I've been to a ton of these conferences, and you've been to them before, and everyone just sits in their chair all day long. You never even open your mouth. You're on your phone, you're falling asleep. And everything we do in our community is totally different. You can't learn how to get better at your job by not doing the thing. No one learns how to play a violin without playing the violin. So we do stuff in our community. We simulate the actual challenges that we all face in our roles, and we practice them live. We've always done that virtually. So your space was perfect, where we could do a bunch of role play simulations, a lot of one-on-one breakout, speed dating style sessions, which is how we kicked off our day. So the venue is perfect, where it could be intimate and close when we needed to all be packed together, but then there's plenty of functional space for us to break out when we were doing some of the other stuff.
Okay, so let's backtrack a bit, and then for our audience, we're gonna explain more about your event and the format.
Sure.
And some of your learnings for the IRL side of things as well.
Sure.
And let's talk about partnerships in general, okay? And then we can kind of work up to Partnership Mastermind, your 3-year-old company. But what's your history with professional work in partnership formation?
Sure. Yeah. So formally, I've been in partnerships for just about 6 years, and all of that has been in, B2B software environments, predominantly working in startup environments. And so and then even to go deeper than that within the e-commerce and retail kind of segment, so to speak. And partnerships is not a new concept, but it's going through this revival resurgence period within kind of go to market, where everyone's familiar with sales as an acquisition motion. Same thing with marketing, outbound, inbound, etc. Partnerships is an extremely profitable acquisition and retention channel if executed properly.
Right.
In that, when you source potential new clients through partnership channels, and we'll talk about what that means, they're usually coming in like pre-vetted. They're coming in with trust because someone's referred them, as an example. So if everyone's familiar with the sales funnel, they're entering like a partnership source deal is entering like middle of funnel, so to speak, as opposed to like a higher up in the funnel, like a marketing lead. So that's what that is. And for me, I've been in it for about 6 years, typically working with between technology companies. So we call that tech partnerships, where I'm working at a technology company. And then the book of business, the portfolio of companies I am working directly with are also other technology companies. So partners that I've had in the past in my portfolio are Shopify, Google, Amazon, Klaviyo, Facebook. And the goal is, how can we drive commercial outcomes for both of our businesses whilst improving the lives of our mutual buyers and customers, right? Like we're moving revenue through the partnership to drive better outcomes for our customers. And to me, that's the simplest form of what a partnership is.
Okay. Everyone wins.
Everyone has to win. Customers need to win first. The partner needs to win second, and then you have to eat last. And this isn't a podcast about partnership do's and don'ts, but if it was, people usually have that order backwards, in my opinion.
Let's dig into that.
Sure. So you said it, like everyone wins, and that's best case. The problem is we're humans, and a lot of people who do this job, which are typically called partner managers or partner account managers, which should be relatively intuitive, they're aligned compensation wise to account executives and sales reps. But the big difference is that sales reps work directly with prospective customers and they work the deals to close. We sit on top of them. We're more of a sourcing function where we're trying to generate opportunities for sales reps to then pass the baton to, and then they work the deal.
Sure.
We might stay involved and influence the deal through the partner, but we're ultimately trying to activate partners to trust us, believe in us, source us these opportunities, and pass them off. So we have quota models, compensation models, contingent compensation that we only get paid if these deals close. So that does lead to some bad behaviors because we're all human, where we be selfish. Like we're selfish as partnerships sometimes because we're not thinking about what's best for the customer. We maybe are thinking about what's best for the partner, but we're really thinking like, how do I hit quota this quarter so I can feed my family, right? And that can lead to some bad behaviors where you have that order backwards, where instead of it being customer first, then partner second, then you third, it's all about what's in it for yourself. And how that shows up, if that's a question, is you're just not focusing on the customer at all. You're everything's transactional. It's like, hey, do you have leads for me? Which literally happens all the time. Like, hey, like, when are you going to make that intro that you promised me? Versus like, hey, should we spend some time thinking about how can we actually work together with our product team and our solutions team to come up with something that's just 10x more valuable to our customer? Because if we do that, although that slows us down on commercial upside reality, we're going to deliver so much more impact to the customer, which will make everything easier. So this is all to say that most partnership professionals, especially early stage, are short-sighted. Yeah. They're so focused on hitting quota that it prevents them from building their strategic muscle where they can really unlock future leverage.
Okay, from your angle, who typically fills these roles? Because there's two sides of that question. One is early stage growing companies in that kind of like 0 to 50 mark or 0 to 100 head count. Yeah. May not see partnerships as immediately valuable, and because of that, either not compensate people, adequate to their expertise and abilities. So there's that kind of like mistrust within the organization of what it could yield. And then at the same time, there's this kind of like, do they teach partnership formation at school? Or so do you have a generalist coming into the role?
Sure. It's a good question. So to restate, it's like literally like, who are these people that are entering into these roles? I think for them, there's definitely like no school for partnerships. We don't brand ourselves as a school. We brand ourselves as like we're the community and infrastructure to help you just, if you're starting your partnerships, ramp way faster, as evidenced by hitting quota faster. And then we're going to make sure that if you're already in partnerships, we're going to accelerate your growth. But there is no MBA for partnerships. I did a PhD in organic chemistry. Back then, I couldn't even have told you what the hell a partnership was, other than like with like a romantic partner. So there is no school for it. To answer your question more directly, most people come into it through just chance. They typically have sales backgrounds, maybe even more like BDR, outbound roles. There's a lot of folks go over from customer success or account management because there's actually a lot of transferable skills.
Yeah,
you're taking care of someone, your customer. Now in a partnerships role, you're taking care of a partner account. But the difference is like you just have to keep them happy. You have to leverage them into like getting real financial gain.
Yeah.
So that's like customer success managers, AEs, people of that ilk, in terms of like what triggers or prompts a company to like think like, this could be interesting. The mature companies, they've been doing this for decades, right? All the Fortune 500s, the term you would have used then is channel.
Okay.
Right. So think like resellers, system integrators. So all the complex software out there, right? If you buy Cisco, right, you're not implementing that yourself. You're paying a system integrator to, probably millions of dollars to integrate it across your entire tech stack. That is kind of like channel. That's old school. So the enterprise companies have been doing this for a long time. And then as things have modernized, they knew what to do. They were converting these channel folks into like pure partnerships folks. So they were much better positioned. But let's just keep it within like sub 200 million revenue companies, startup land. Where they're getting them from and how they're doing it is they're never thinking about partnerships, right? They're C-suite. They're not thinking about partnerships. They're just going about their way. And then just inevitably, right? Typically through integrations that they might have, because every tech company builds these integrations, right? Inevitably, some of these integration partners or integrations, I shouldn't say partner yet, they'll just knock on your door and they'll be like, hey, like we have a referral for you, right? So this is how almost all startup partner programs start. It's super rare that the C-suite and CRO and CEO are like, you know what? Once we hit 5 million ARR or 10 million ARR, that's the time we got to start investing in partnerships. Like maybe 1 in 10 are like that. In reality, it's like, okay, we're just going about our normal business growth strategy. And then all of a sudden we just start getting these like sporadic, random organic referrals from some other technology companies that we have an integration with, but have otherwise had no relationship with. Or maybe there's some implementation partners or advisors who they just learn about us and they think we could be a good fit for their clients, so they refer. And so that's the first light bulb in the head of some revenue-oriented executive of like, well, what if we put a resource on that? Could that become repeatable?
Sure.
Right? At scale.
Right.
So that is almost how it always happens. And then they go and scramble of like, well, who do we actually hire and how do we find them? That's a whole different ballgame. But to answer your question, that's who comes into these roles, is those backgrounds. And then what prompts a company sub 200 million to start getting it is like they start noticing organic referrals and then they salivate at the opportunity to like turn that into a real acquisition channel.
Yeah. And then, so they start looking for people.
Yep.
Where do they find those people?
That's a good question. I mean, there's definitely like now a market, like the partnerships profession is niche, right? Relative, like there's at least maybe 10 to 20x more sellers out there, like pure account executives, probably 20x than there is like partner managers. Same thing for customer success managers or marketing managers. But there is a market. Like if you go query any of the available recruiting tools, partner manager, partner account manager, channel account manager,
you'll see people hiring for those roles.
You'll see people hiring, but you'll also see a lot of people open to work.
Okay.
Right. So like you can find these people. It's a really challenging role to hire for because it's not brand new, but it's like new. Like it's gone through this resurgence. Revenue expectations for partner managers has skyrocketed. They used to be seen as more of a supportive function. Like, hey, take care of this account, right? This account, we do $1 million a year with them. Make sure that doesn't go down. But if you can make it go up, great. But now it's like, no. The partnership function led by, say, a VP of partnerships, they are now a bona fide sourcing function. And for the average startup SaaS company, anywhere between 0 and 200 mil, they're expected to drive 30 to 50% of net new revenue.
That's because like
per year.
Advertising doesn't work, right?
Advertising doesn't work. Outbound is getting crushed. Ads are just ridiculously expensive.
Right.
You can only expand your own existing accounts so fast, so far. So partnerships is arguably the healthiest channel, right? As evidenced by CAC, LTV, other metrics. And so everybody wants to get it going, but how do you actually get it going is the hard part. So staffing is incredibly difficult because the people who have all the right experience and are good at it already have jobs.
Right.
And the people who are just green and just haven't had enough at-bats, they're available, but it's a big risk. And a couple of years ago, during the frothy periods of COVID, you would not believe the compensation that was getting thrown around at people like some partner managers who had one good year in their career could go get in Canadian dollars
like half
250 to 500K.
Valley jobs,
OT.
Valley jobs remote.
Oh,
$500,000.
crazy.
Ridiculous incentives on top.
Crazy. And they had like one good year in their career. Nowadays that's like completely been reduced by like almost half.
Yeah.
So now things are kind of back to normal, but it's really difficult to answer your question on how do you hire, because it's not like sales where a lot of these reps have a lot more experience. You're making a big bet. You're hoping that these transferable skills will actually transfer. There's not nearly as many candidates out in the wild that have years of pure partnerships experience like there is for sales and marketing.
I'll speak to this also as a business owner. You know, like something I keep telling people all over the place is that it's extremely rare. It's almost non-existent for anyone to approach me with any pitch ever on how we can work together.
Yeah.
And whenever I initiate those motions, it seems novel to 90% of people. They're not primed to receive the kind of potentiality of a partnership.
Sure.
In business. And it's different if you're talking like business owner to business owner in an owner operated model.
Sure.
But then in software where people are running a million miles a minute, and you might have like newbies running startups and they're 31 or they're 24 years old, and they're afraid that like their VCs are going to somehow take the money out of the bank account again. It's like they're looking over their shoulder for so many reasons that they don't have the business owner protocol of saying, yeah, let's have lunch and figure this out. And that old world of doing business, which was so founded on business, you know, the kind of where there was like golf club, debates, where a leader would talk to another leader and say, we should work together differently. And let's get Phil to figure that out on Tuesday. It kind of has gone away, it feels like.
Yep.
And definitely in this world, and definitely here in Canada.
Yep.
So I'm always surprised when people are not receptive when I'm like, hey, our brands should be doing stuff together.
Yeah.
And they don't. It seems to me that like for the most part, it's okay. Two sides to that. So I'd love your take on this. Is on one side, there's the culture piece, which I spoke to, which could be it's either not a facet of the culture of leadership today in early stage companies. And then at the same time, there's this question of standards, which I think you can also speak to is, you know, where do people understand what partnership was all about in the first place?
Sure. Yeah, really smart comment, and I'll unpack both of them one by one.
Yeah.
So the first part on the culture part, I think that's really important. I think COVID's disrupted a lot about how we work. So I think the average person, say in business development roles, which partnerships is certainly within that class, you're just not getting the same in-person, face-to-face experience, which is where you can have much more collaborative conversation. Like one in-person is worth like 5 to 10 Zoom meetings in terms of like how much depth you can achieve and how far you can accelerate a conversation. So I think that's a real thing. I think also especially in the startup land, a lot of these, especially the earlier stage, you know, the entry levels, the ICs, they're just getting burdened with more work than ever, which helps you develop project management skills and coordination skills, but it does not allow you to develop strategic skills, which to your point is a hallmark, fundamental core skill you must have in partnerships. So to your point, when you are saying these, like you reference, like, you know, I'm presenting like conceptual ideas for how we can partner and it's just not following through. I think in my experience, a lot of these folks, they understand the concept. Like they can wrap their head around like the business use case and the value prop, like, okay, but they literally don't know how they would execute. I think that is like a huge thing I see constantly. And look, I was this person, you know, years ago when I got into this profession, it's so easy to ideate. Yeah. And I was guilty of this. I was a shiny objects guy early in my partnerships career. I couldn't believe I was on all these meetings with these big companies like the Googles and the Shopifys of the world. And you can ideate no problem once you understand your product and the market you sit within.
Right.
But change management and actual execution is where it all falls apart. So I suspect in a lot of these instances that you might be experiencing, it's not that the people don't think your idea is good or there's not real value there, but they're literally like, who's going to do that work? And like, how do I actually participate in this, what you're proposing?
Right.
And what risks does this provide to me or present to me if I agree to do this? And again, going back to my earlier point on the culture side, the way we literally exist within our profession is changing. It's so much more virtual, which prevents you from developing interpersonal skills. And then on top of that, companies are just putting way too much literal scope and ownership on people, which prevents you from developing the strategic skills you need to be able to follow through with these things. And so that's why a big thing I would say in our communities is like less is more, right? Like you need to ruthlessly fight to like minimize your scope. Not because you're trying to be lazy, but because you're trying to pack a bigger punch, right? So many folks are super stretched. They're going a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah.
It's like you need to flip that. So that's my response to kind of the culture change that's happening. But then on the strategic side, people are just not developing real communication, executive level communication skills. So they're not even in a position to follow through on what you're proposing because they've literally never seen it before.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, if you're talking about not older, but bigger organizations where bureaucracy and legal restrictions become, hindrances to efficacy, then that's a whole kettle of fish there where people are like, I don't want to get shanked by bringing up something new that we didn't discuss in our quarterly meeting,
Exactly. Political risk is real.
Yeah. Okay, so ergo the community. Tell me, break it down for us. What is Partnership Mastermind?
Sure.
Where did it come from? And how has it changed in the last 3 years?
Yeah, great question. It's good timing as we're going through like a big jump. So Partnership Mastermind at its core is a community and platform for partnership professionals to get training, like role-specific training, the resources they need, the community mentorship, camaraderie they need to have more confidence, more clarity, to improve their performance and job security and quality of life, which sounds like a lot, but at the end of the day, it's like, look, can we help you get better at your job faster? And as the underpin to that, can we help you gain confidence, real knowledge, real skills? And can we support you by surrounding you with people who are in similar situations, facing similar challenges? And if we put you together and we give you the tools and resources you need, you will perform faster, better outcomes, and then better quality of life. So that's at the end of the day, who we are. We're Toronto-based, very proud of that. Where we are today. And we got started 3 years ago, and it started as a side hustle, right? Like I only went full-time on the business 10 months ago.
Okay.
So I was in a full-time job. I was leading a global partner program at a Series C B2B SaaS startup. And I have always loved to coach, right? Like, and I did a PhD in chemistry. I was planning to become a professor. I just love to research. I love to teach. So that's always followed me. And so then when I became a manager and leader for the first time, I loved coaching my team. And then inevitably I started mentoring other folks at other companies, and that started to kind of pick up and doing a little bit of advising work. And then I just started getting a ton of demand from, early to mid-stage folks asking me to mentor them. And like the requests were starting to get out of control. And I was like, look, I got a full-time job, a life to live. I can't be doing this. I certainly can't be doing it for free.
Yeah.
So then I finally, February of 2023, I had this idea of like, okay, I've done plenty of like one-to-many sessions in my academic career, tutoring. Like I would tutor like 20 kids at a time, right? Just to like make the most of it. Yeah. That was actually when I really got my entrepreneurial start. Like $20 an hour per student for a couple hours. If you get 20 in a room, you can actually pack a big punch.
So you'd be teaching like mini lectures.
Yeah, literally. Like I made a killing when I was in grad school. Teaching the wannabe med students who were preparing for their MCAT.
Right.
Like organic chemistry was like the toughest part. So I made a fortune doing like 20 people at a time. And I could get access to a classroom up on the chalkboard, and I'd have about 18 to 20 of them. They're all asking me the same questions, right? So like I don't need to split my time. And I would do like 2-hour sessions at a time at night after I finished in the lab. And every exam season, that was what I was doing. So that's how I got my like one-to-many approach, right?
Sure.
And so then fast forward to the start of Partnership Mastermind, I made a LinkedIn post. I recorded myself in a video. I was outside. It was absolutely freezing. I was up by Cafe Lander, King and University here. And I recorded this thing like 10 times because I had so much imposter syndrome. And I was like, look, everybody, I'm getting a lot of demand to like coach. I can't do it one-on-one, but I'm going to open up a Partnership Mastermind bootcamp hence the name. Didn't have a business incorporated at the time. I was like, I'm just going to open up a boot camp. It's going to be an 8-week accelerator style program where each week we meet for an hour on Zoom. I'm going to go through a specific topic. So cross-functional collaboration, negotiation, persuasion, data-informed decision-making, you name it. And I'm going to go through theory, real-world examples. We'll have open dialogue between the group. We're going to be in a private Slack group. I'm going to pair you up with several folks in the group, buddy system, who I think is a good fit for you based on your profile.
Nice.
And then fast forward through the 8 weeks, you're going to have more confidence, more skills, and a few more friends. And so I recorded this thing honestly like 10 times. And I finally pulled the trigger thinking nothing would come from it. And then I got like 75 applications for the first batch.
Wow.
I let 14 brave souls in. So shout out to we use a YC style abbreviation. So like 23.1 was my first one, like 2023.1 first batch. So shout out to the 23.1 batch. And so I let 14 in for free, did the first one for free because I was like, this is not going to, how's this going to go? I was scared about that.
Yeah.
And it was just phenomenal. Like some people from some great companies like HubSpot, Shopify, Klaviyo were in this group. And it was just such a great experience. My wife knew when it was like lecture day because I was extra fired up. And so I go through that program, that first batch. It was a huge success.
Yeah.
So then the real business started rolling for this 23.2 batch. I started charging $200 USD per student.
Yep.
And then that was great. And then $350, $500, $750. And then it's been at $1,000 USD per seat for the last 15 or so months. And I could charge more, but companies pay for this typically through some like L&D stipend.
Yep.
And a lot of companies are cheap. So like I have to like work against that as a constraint. But yeah, so like to summarize, I've personally delivered 16 8-week boot camps to around 300 plus partner pros, 25 countries. Combined, these people are, having $1 billion of total economic impact on their businesses and their industries. They've combined earned probably several hundred million dollars worth of compensation. And so that's been great. But then to answer your other question of like where we're at now,
yeah,
it started as like, we have 3 phases. Like phase 1, founder led. I'm part-time on this thing. I'm just coaching myself. Like it's just the Chris Lavoie show.
Yep.
And then about 2 years in-ish, a little bit under 2 years in, I was getting a ton of traction, ton of demand. I was like, I think I could go full-time in this. Like corporate life was starting to kind of become a drag. And I just knew I wanted to be my own boss and build my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then my wife gets pregnant. That gets my ass in gear.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to go full-time, but I needed help. And so my wife's like, you got to get help. So I find an executive coach. Shout out to Coach K, Karen, who's in New York, and she changed my life. Like I kept telling everyone like, oh, the next 6 months, that's when I'm going to pull the trigger and go full time. And I just kept putting it off.
Yeah.
Right.
What was the decision, or what was the spark that, the thing you had to do?
Yeah.
To commit full time?
Sure.
And then immediately, how did you realize that was kind of a false barrier?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good question. So again, like early on, like we're 3 years in, like around the halfway mark, I was like, I have pretty good product market fit.
Yeah.
I know I can make like enough money to float our lifestyle. And if I never grow, like if I just literally keep doing this, there's enough supply of students, there's hundreds of thousands of these people. I do 20 at a time.
Right.
Right. And so that was going to be fine. So I knew I could do that. So there's less risk there. So I just kept putting it off. And so when my wife got pregnant, that was when I was like, I need to make a decision now, because I was at this very intense company. It was a Chinese-based company. I had to go to China 3 times in 2024, including when my wife was pregnant.
Wow.
These 16-hour direct flights. So I was just burnt out, working early mornings, late nights because of the time change. And so I was like, my fear was when my wife got pregnant, my fear was if I don't leave before the baby comes, I'm going to feel like it's too great a risk after the baby comes.
Okay.
Right? Because it's like I have a cushy job and cushy compensation, and it's like the job's stressful, but I know how to work within it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like if I didn't pull the trigger before, I would be trapped. And it just, the chances of me leaving would be so much less.
Yeah.
So I put so much pressure on myself to leave. So my wife gets pregnant August of 2024. Our due date is May 2025. Just for the timeline. And so I'm putting so much pressure on myself. I got to get her there by April 2025. Right. So I hired this coach in October of 2024.
Yeah.
And I was like, Karen, she's like, what is it like? What would justify you paying me and hiring me for 6 months? I was like, get me out of my full-time job. That's all I want to talk about. Help me escape, help me pull the trigger, help me have enough confidence and a real plan, a real model to do this. So we met 3 times a month for an hour. It's part therapy, part strategic. And she really did a great job helping me get over my own BS and just like really have more accountability, but like actually like build a system of like, so she set me up with a simple tracker. It's like, and I filled it out every single day. Okay. And it was like, what's one thing I need to do for my old job to like accelerate my timeline of getting away from them? Mm-hmm. What's one thing I can do for Partnership Mastermind to get me closer to being able to start full time on it? And what's one thing I need to do for myself personally to maximize the chances that I'll have the energy and confidence to pull this all off? And like literally every morning, that was the first thing I would do. I'd set one goal for each of those 3 pillars. Yeah. And I would use a color heat map. So the next morning I would reflect, it's like, I would put yellow if I kind of did a good job, green if I did a great job, and red if I just like shit the bed on it. And it was, I used it every day for months and months and months, and it completely accelerated my getting my stuff together. Long story short, I ended up informing that company in March that I was leaving. My final day was April 25th. My daughter came 3 weeks early on April 28th. And so then, April 28th, basically like fatherhood and entrepreneurship are like game on basically at the exact same time. Wow. So that's the full story.
That's auspicious.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the journey. It was always me kind of as the founder-led course deliverer. So that was phase 1. Phase 2 was about 6 months ago. We launched a marketplace where I found 16 other instructors, world-class operators who are in full-time jobs. It was basically like a franchisee model. I train them, I certify them, and now they can run their own specialized courses under our umbrella. Okay. And so that was phase 2. And then now phase 3, we've since launched an actual software application, which is like an enablement platform. It's like a flight simulator. It's got a bunch of AI tools. We've got the community. And so now our members can't just, don't just get live coaching. They actually have like real AI tools for both skill development, real execution, so you can get real artifacts that you can use in your job. Wow. Plus all the community stuff. And we actually launched that here. I timed the launch of my app with the day of our first in-person because I was like, how cool would that be? That was a ton of work, so I don't know if I would have done that again in hindsight, but yeah, I literally, like, that was the first thing I announced.
This is the theme.
The day of the event. Yeah.
Use one thing to
do
the other thing.
Exactly. So long story, I know I just rambled there for a bit, but no, yeah, that was the full story.
It's insightful because, I mean, it sounds like you've just really been on a great tear since you committed full time. Yeah. To not only, build to sustain, but build to grow. That franchise model, you said 16 other educators have been trained?
16 other instructors, yep.
Right. So the business itself has a ability to scale now, which you've built and prototyped rapidly and can continue growing as needed. Yep. And then the AI stuff is interesting because it's about bringing the bleeding edge into, again, enabling scale, but value for your existing and past cohorts too, right?
Yeah, accessible to everybody. So yeah, it's a good point. And like, look, a big thing that I've always done since day one is talk to our customers, obviously, but like collect real data. So we have over 10,000 data points across our community over the last couple of years. That really helps me understand how is our average member and how are they evolving in real time. And after 3 years, like, I've seen clear trends. And we're actually running this massive report right now in partnership with HubSpot and a few others, where we're trying to understand like what is the state of what is the current state of partner management in 2026. Obviously, AI has disrupted a lot, and one of the questions in that survey is like, what is your preferred method of developing skills and gaining confidence? And I gave them a bunch of options. One of those options was like using like AI chatbots. That was actually the lowest ranked option, which shows me that like AI adoption as a learning vehicle is lagging.
People don't trust it.
It's not what people think. Interestingly, and this is I'm incentivized to not even admit this, but one of the options that was lower ranked was like live, like continuous course programs, which is like has always been our bread and butter, right? And we are evolving that model. What they really want is the number one option ranked by far, 78%, was learning by doing. And that to me was so satisfying. It's so satisfying when you get the result you're looking for. That to me was so satisfying because that's how I've always been trending. I've never pretended like going through one of my 8-week boot camps is enough. It's a start, but it's certainly not enough to survive and thrive. I've always believed that like you have to practice and do the thing. And that was a big part of what we did here at our first member summit here at StartWell was I was getting them on uncomfortable situations, right? Like we were up on the like the director chairs with their microphones, and I would literally give them a scenario. I'm like, hey, the scenario is you've got a pissed off partner who you were making big promises to, and it's 6 months into the partnership and you've completely underdelivered and underwhelmed, right? You're going to walk into a meeting with me, who's the VP at the partner who is pissed, and you've got to cool me down and tell me what you're going to do to get things back on track or walk. And so I'm like, who's going to grab the microphone and come up here and walk through this with me? And a couple brave souls would come up, and we would literally role play it exactly as it would go. And I'm a tough VP giving them a tough time, and I'm seeing how they respond. And so many folks came up to me after, they're like, I wish my company offered me stuff like this. Right? I wish there was other spaces for me to do this. And obviously you can only replicate that online so much. And I know you've built a career in like, how do you kind of like, simulate, in real life, offline. And that's really difficult to do, but that's the essence of what I'm now trying to build in this new software AI phase that we're in as a business.
Experiential training.
We have really cool AI tools. Yes, for like, just like we have really cool AI co-pilots. You just like ask it functional questions like, hey, I have a quarterly business review coming up with a partner. Here's like all my raw notes and data from like the last 6 months. Like, can you build me like an executive operator ready quarterly business review document, which is like a very common thing. And like, voila, it'll spit out an artifact for you that's like professional grade, ready to go. Used to take you 5 hours. Now you can get it in 5 minutes. So like we have tools like that. But what I'm really interested in is we also have AI tools to help you with like real skill building, right? Like, hey, Chris, what's the scariest thing? Like, this is literally how the AI tool works. Like, hey, Chris, like, what's the scariest thing you're going to face this week? And I just describe it in plain English. It's like, okay, great. We're going to do this challenge. And it presents me with a very specific, tailored, nuanced challenge that I can complete by, like, say, writing out a response, and then it will give me instant scoring, coaching, and feedback. That is the type of thing that I'm most excited about. And it's validated by the survey we're running where people are like, I want to learn by doing. And I've always benefited that way. I really struggle with not comprehension in its purest form, but if I just like, if I have to like read a manual and then go do something, like my wife does all her IKEA work, she knows I suck at that.
IKEA work.
But I need to do things, right? And our community is responding to doing things to develop your skills. So the community presents a safe space for you to feel comfortable doing it. So that's the critical infrastructure that's not easy to build. And then the tools we're building are how you actually develop those skills in the first place. So you need the community as the layer, as the hub.
Right.
And then you've got to fill it with these tools that allows you to come face to face with the real scenarios that we actually face and really struggle with. Because what I don't want is people going into these really scary situations and they've never practiced it before.
Something also to consider, I guess, in the evolution of those tools is collaborative, right, stuff. So if members of a cohort or otherwise are on a mock team dealing with the situation together,
that's a great idea.
They would co-learn a lot about their reactions to situations, but also how to work as a team and take that back into their own teams.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's especially relevant for like, we have a lot of like for our like commercial models.
It was like when things moved from Duke Nukem. was it Wolfenstein to Duke Nukem?
Yeah.
Or was it Wolfenstein to Duke Nukem?
I think you might be right.
And then it went to like online. At some point there was an online version. And it was like, I guess all games are like this now, but the idea that you're playing something, but you can communicate with other players.
Sure.
Really exciting.
No, I love that cross-pollination idea. And it's definitely easier to do with like people on the same team. Like with a lot of our customers, like they'll do like 10-seat deals, 15-seat deals. They'll put like all of their partnership employees into our programs and our communities. And there it's like, that's a great vehicle because they're literally incentivized to work better together. And they're thinking about the same things. They're doing the same thing. So I think that's a really good deal. How to like simulate collaborative environments. That's something I haven't spent as much time as I should have.
Nice, man. And then lastly, how do you see IRL now that you've kind of done the first event?
Man,
how does it fit into the game plan going forward?
Well, honestly, like that was a game changer for me. Like I knew it was important to like get in person for the sake of like, hey, like that's where you really drive stickiness. Much better than I do. Loyalty, retention, and just this feel-good nature of existing within the community when you go face to face. So I kind of knew that was going to happen, and it did. But what I didn't expect was just how powerful like these like simulative workshops and like the role plays. And I was just like, I would do this every week if I could.
Right.
Like I really would do this every week. My wife was there doing some photography with our daughter, and she saw me. She's like, "You've never been so electric. Like you've never been so excited." I even did a podcast interview with one of the local CEOs, Bryn Jones from PartnerStack, that day, which was also really fun to do in person. But it was just to answer your question directly. I want to figure out how to do that a lot more. Obviously, using StartWell would be amazing because it was just and like take this to other cities as well. Like, how can I go on the road? Eventually, have chapter hosts who can like support me with it. Like, get some community members to take on that responsibility. But like, I would love to go to LA and Chicago and Miami and New York and run these things, once a month because the validation, albeit on like a sample size of say 20, was overwhelming by the members that came.
Sure.
And I actually, one of the ideas I had from after that night was, this is something that I can like really, this would be a high ticket offering, but like this is something I can do in-house with like companies, right? I have a company right now paying me a lot of money to virtually train just their team. This is like a private closed version of my public boot camps.
Sure.
So they pay me a bunch of money to just train their internal teams, right? Virtually, which is great. But imagine if I work with a company that does have an office or we can get access to this space for like a set number of weeks. That to me was really interesting as well because you're training a bunch of people on the same team, same company. So anyways, that's kind of how I'm thinking about the next phase.
Nice. Exciting stuff, man.
I'm excited.
Thanks for coming in, spending some time talking about partnership leader. I guess, well, how would you describe this world of like partnership people?
Yeah.
What's the catch-all kind of like descriptor for the role? Whether you're a leader or you're not a leader, whoever owns partnerships at a company.
Yeah, partnership operator.
Okay.
I think that's probably
operator.
Yeah, sometimes you hear ecosystem. Ecosystem is kind of like another version of it. But yeah, like partnership operator, partnership professional, partnership leader is more indicative of like someone who's like at the leadership level.
Yeah.
So like just partnership professional.
Nice.
That rolls off the tongue.
Nice to talk about partnership professionals, the world that they all fit in, where they come from, and how you're supporting them. Because we started with this idea that, or at some point in the beginning, of there not being like a school or a program you can go through.
Sure.
Sounds like you're building it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we're just trying to build the best possible platform for people to enter into this beautiful profession more seamlessly, like seamless onboarding into the role, faster ramp time. And then once you are in seat, can we provide you the role specific training resources that we wish your company did? Because some companies can provide training to the sales and marketing team, but you go ask 100 SaaS companies right now, do you provide role specific onboarding and ongoing training and mentorship for your partnership employees? I guarantee you less than 10% are actually doing that. So, and less than half of partnership professionals have access to L&D budget from their company. So someone's got to do the work. And we're just trying to do our part.
One thing, a lot of our audience, globally or wherever people are watching from, whether they're local or not, are founders or, business leaders, enterprise of it.
Yep.
So what's your kind of like 2 seconds out to people that are considering how to tighten up or even build a partnership organization?
For sure. So if you have an existing partner program, the best thing you need to do, or the most important thing you need to do, is you need to like rip and replace what your ideal partner profile is. Every business, every founder understands their ideal customer profile, or ideal client profile, which is to say, probabilistically, what are the characteristics and traits of a customer that is most likely to purchase us, but not just purchase us, stay a happy customer for a long time and spend a lot of money on us. That's your ICP. IPP is a similar. So it's like what are the traits and characteristics of a partner company that is most likely to work with us, deliver major value to our customers in our bank account, and stay with us long term. The biggest mistake so many companies and partner programs make is they have a very lazy, bloated definition of what their IPP is, their ideal partner profile, which leads to really bad bets. You invest in the wrong partners. You spend a ton of time trying to onboard and activate them, and it's just a disaster. And no one knows what the hell's going on when that doesn't work. So if you have an existing partner program, to keep it short, brutally beat up your IPP, but don't just leave it to the partnership leader, whoever that is. Because to be honest, you need more input. You need marketing leadership to chime in. You need product leadership, especially to chime in, sales leadership. The CEO should have a final say on what that is, because that is the starting point. That's the lead domino. If you get that wrong, everything else is garbage. But if you nail that, everything is so much easier because then you can map the TAM properly. And then you can understand, okay, there's 1,000 accounts that fit within our IPP. Okay, great. Go talk to them, go activate them, go find the right ones. And then everything else is easier. And then the second point you said, like, what if you don't even started, right? Go talk to your highest performing. If you don't have a partner program to speak of, go talk to your highest performing customers who have a good relationship with and say two things. What are the services companies that you've worked with and you really trust? And what are the tools, what are the software tools you're using in our tech stack that you love to integrate with our platform? Start from, and then find trends. It's like, oh, look at that. The bulk of our most important, valuable customers keep referencing, HubSpot or Salesforce. Like, chances are that would be a good partner for us because our happiest, loyalist customers are using these service providers and these technology vendors. So it's not a stretch to think that if we formed a strategic partnership, we could then service more of our customer base and actually get referrals and access their customer base. So work backwards from like the tech stack, the engine of your happiest customers, and then go talk to those partners and see if there's a good use case.
Nice. Again, awesome spending some time chatting, man.
Likewise. Thanks so much for having me. This was awesome.
All right.